Biggie Smalls. Biggie, can't you see?
Like dysregulated. They're really having a hard time. They're in trauma. But the bed bugs and the lice.
Because it used to be us in the thick of it.
You can make a living and make money, but also do well for others.
Especially with the first house, we really truly made them our family and integrated them into our lives.
What was some of the challenges? Did you like working with me?
This is the Unleash Your Purpose podcast.
All right, welcome to Unleash Your Purpose with your host, me, Sara Senters. And I have a very special guest, my wife of 17 years. Clearly our style is very similar. Mm-hmm. I'm like in slippers and a what is this?
An Ohana hoodie.
Ohana hoodie. We have all merch for days.
Yep.
And then you're in your pleather.
And Biggie Smalls. Biggie, can't you see?
Yes. So Sarah, our bedroom is right next door to our podcast studio. We'd like to make it sound more exclusive than it really is.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready this morning, or I was been ready for hours, and you were getting ready minutes ago. And I was like, hey, look, I shaved for today.
And I said, oh. And then I said, well, what's different about me? Something's been different since Wednesday, 2 days ago.
2 days ago. I was like, is it the Botox? No, it wasn't the Botox. Was it your hair color, lashes?
He mentioned my weight.
Did you lose weight? You look good. You lost weight. She's getting more and more pissed as this time goes by. I guess supposedly she cut her hair days ago, and it was a small trim.
No, it was like 8 to 10 inches
of
hair gone. And only 3 people have noticed in 2 days. Oh, I forgot to put my wedding rings on. Only 3 people have noticed, and you've gone days without saying a word.
And I shaved this morning, and you didn't even notice either.
You shave weekly.
Okay.
You shave weekly.
Okay. Well, we want to talk today as we're getting ready to launch our podcast about us doing business together.
Yes.
As a couple, as a family in business together. And how people always ask, how in the world did we get started in this journey? And we thought we would say, hey, check out this podcast. You can hear about it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. So we started Ohana. We had our 4 kids. We were living in a 4-bedroom house. And I've always been pretty entrepreneurial, trying to find a side hustle. Our whole marriage, I've had 4 jobs at one time?
Yeah, at least 3 minimum.
Yes. So I've always been trying to hustle to make more W-2 income, but I always wanted, and I was always very focused on starting a nonprofit. And I was very social justice focused and trying to help different kids. I remember when we first moved to this house that we ended up starting Ohana out of, I thought, hey, maybe the best way we could really unify our marriage was I found a homeless kid on the side of the street. And I was really excited about this opportunity to be able to help start a youth center. And this kid needed help. And I don't know what was going through my head.
You were already in the community talking to various leaders about after school programs or different things. And then you found a homeless teen and you were like, I will save you.
Yes.
And so I was 2 weeks postpartum
2 weeks
of giving birth to Maddox.
Yep. So we had 4 kids under
the age of 4.
Under 4. And, you had your baby. We had our son. Everything was great. So it was time to bring in a homeless stranger. And he didn't have his ankle bracelet on anymore. That was good.
So at 2 weeks postpartum, I was up all night, not just because my son needed nursing, but because there was a strange boy in our house sleeping on our couch.
Okay.
And I had no idea. I thought he was going to shank us in the middle of the night.
You're being over dramatic, but just to be clear, I got to know this kid for days. He didn't have a family. I thought we could get him into a shelter, try to find a home for him.
It was like 2 or 3 days. And then you found out he was 19 and was using you.
You know what? Those are the details we don't need to talk about. Those are the learnings that you do, that sometimes you don't bring the craziness into your house So, and at least the passion propelled me to do something, but it was probably one of the dumbest things we could have done for our family and me.
Absolutely.
And I'm surprised you didn't leave me at that time.
I'm surprised I didn't
Yes.
either.
Yes.
This is where all my PTSD comes from.
Yeah, she has a lot of PTSD from all these years of church planting and ministry.
And foster care.
So we've done this for 10 years, and we brought in this kid. Fast forward now, we were church planters at the time. That church plant ended up transitioning into a nonprofit that we ended up starting a single mom shelter. Got this amazing group of community around us, and we served probably 20 single moms and their kids in this house, and it was a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And but at the same time, we were struggling to make enough money. We had 4 kids. Actually, at that point, we had Pima as well, our other daughter.
Yeah, we had 5 kids.
We had 5 kids in our home. And I was like, how do I create this vision that I have for our life and create revenue and money that we can be able to support ourselves? And I worked in group homes as a youth advocate, kind of like a counselor for kids. And I would go into these group homes and I saw how they operated, and I was like learning about how this all worked. And I watched, okay, they had 8, 10 kids in a home. The staff were providing a home for them. But what I noticed about these group homes is it was so sterile. There was nothing on the walls. The staff were just sitting down, not super engaged with the kids. And it just feels like they were housing kids, not creating family. And I thought for our family, one of the biggest and most important things for us was that we want to create a sense of family and love for our kids. So then we started saying like, well, what if we just start our own group home that we can create a sense of family for our kids? And that's kind of how the dream was started.
And we also we thought our family is full at 5. We knew our house is full. We still want to continue to serve kids in the foster care community. But how do we do that outside of our home?
Absolutely. And I had a big mantra. For me, I was so big into church world nonprofit that I said I could not make any money. I just had to suffer. But then I also started to realize that, no, you can actually do well and do good. That you can make a living and make money, but also do well for others. And that has become kind of the recurring theme in our life. So we started to kind of brainstorm together. We were in
Las Vegas. We went to Las Vegas. We could only afford to do we drove to my parents' house in Kingman.
Yep.
The parents watched the little babies, and we went to see the Blue Man Group for Ryan's birthday. It was like an early birthday surprise or something.
Yeah.
And we spent a day in Las Vegas before driving back to Kingman, and we started brainstorming names
for our business.
And what it was going to be. Ohana Adventures was
competitor.
one of the top ones. Yeah.
So we wanted our original thought was like create adventure for kids. But we knew Ohana was so important and signified what we were about.
Yes.
Because Ohana means family. Family means no one's left behind or forgotten.
And Drew was Stitch.
Yes.
Our son Drew was Stitch. So
we have an adopted son, Drew. He's a terror and a lover, just like Stitch is.
Yeah.
So we always called him Stitch, and that was so deep within us.
Yeah.
So we kind of landed on the name Ohana. And we knew, okay, now what's next? So then I just started grinding, trying to get to know other people in the space. It's like I wanted to learn from them. And I would just start meeting with other agencies and group home leaders and just trying to get proximity to these people because I needed to learn how to do this business and to make it happen. So we started making some connections. We ended up going to a meeting with the state that were saying how to become licensed and contracted with the state.
In the meantime, we put our home on the market because we were building a house by a school to get into like a better neighborhood for our kids in their school. And we put our house on the market because we knew selling that we were going to take that money and go find a home to turn into a group home.
Yeah, because we wanted to have real estate. So for us, live in a home and then go take a primary residence and keep moving. And that's kind of what we have done in building up our real estate portfolio is continue to stay in a house for a year or two and be able to then use it as a primary residence for your next house.
Yeah, we ended up, we were trying to sell it and then we realized, this is a perfect house to create a group home.
Absolutely.
So it ended up, we took it off the market. And it was a great investment for us down the road for sure.
So we ended up meeting with the state, figuring out how to get contracted and how to get licensed, which is very complicated. Anything getting involved with the state is way more challenging than you ever imagine. I love the work, but you have to be prepared. There is so much legislation, statutes, rules,
loops to jump through.
Oh, the hoops. And it probably took us 8 months to be able to get from inception of the idea in Vegas to opening up and having our first kid in the home probably took 8 months. And one of the biggest things we had to do is actually go to the city and turn our home and zone it to become a group home.
Yeah.
So we had to put sprinklers in, fire alarms. We had to make sure that it wasn't within certain proximity of other homes.
That's when you actually found out that down the street from us, there was a home,
Yes.
but it was like an adult home. So we were still able to zone ours.
Yep. And I think all in just doing those renovations to put the sprinklers in was probably about $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah.
And we had about $5,000 in our bank account.
Yep.
So, that's enough. So we are big Dave Ramsey people, but we probably didn't follow the Dave Ramsey way when starting our business.
No, but it was
Would
a great
he ever
risk.
approved us to? So we ended up balance transferring multiple credit cards to pay for the renovations.
That's right.
Yeah, we got a loan from a family member.
We did have good credit, so that helped us.
Oh, yes. Yep, we had good credit. But we ended up making it work. We just figured it out.
Yeah.
Because we had to show the state that we had enough money to make it work. And then
we paid everyone back.
Absolutely. So we moved out launched our first group home in 2016.
Yes. We were a business December of 2015.
Yep.
But it took about the 4
first
month
kid moved
mark.
in. Our first kid moved in, yeah.
Of 2016.
And I was a professor at a college down the street. So I was working full time and also worked at a second job because for me, I'm always going to make sure my family is supported and I never want to start something. I need to make sure the money is coming in before I jump. So I'd rather continue to grind and make it work and straddle both things as best I can before going all in.
But the group home became my full-time job.
Yes, it did.
So I was the group home
She was
manager.
a teacher, very qualified.
Yeah.
5 kids, clearly
But
had
I
a lot of time on your hands.
It was the first time we had ever used daycare. I was terrified. And come to find out for good reasons, the daycare wasn't great.
Why?
I
First
won't
lady
name
wasn't.
the names. No, that first lady was wonderful. That was a different preschool. I'm talking about the chain that they have a kid or two do artwork and then they put it up on the wall and the teachers do the rest of the artwork and they say the kids did it, but really the kids are just wandering aimlessly. It was super great. But I was the group home manager. We got a good friend of ours, longtime friend of ours that had been in ministry with us to also be a manager. And I was paying the bills. I was doing everything and you were doing the
program
state part.
side.
Yes.
Yeah. So we kind of divided things up. I was in charge of kind of the operations of the business, of the kind of the programs, getting connected with the state,
The contracts, and I
I
was
hired-
writing all the service plans and the monthly
case
progress
management.
reports and
I remember the first day we went there was a big military kind of institution here in Arizona that has hundreds of kids. And then back in the day, they were trying to get these kids out of that into family-like homes, like our group home.
yeah.
So that first week in April, they said, hey, come on over. And it was like, which kids do you want? It was so sad.
Like going to pick from a puppy litter.
Oh, but we would go there and I met with all these boys and interviewed them because, okay, I'm bringing in 10 kids and what's the milieu going to look like? How can we help serve these kids the best and make sure that they don't trigger each other and all that? And that day I brought home 6 kids that ended up being with us for the first kids for years.
Yeah. Some of them 2 years.
Yeah. And one of the kids actually ended up becoming we adopted.
Our son. Another one got adopted.
Yep.
A few of them
Yep.
were able to.
It was a beautiful thing. So what was some of the challenges? Did you like working with me?
It was a great experience.
It still is a great experience.
I guess we're still going.
Mm-hmm.
I think having spent time in doing ministry together as youth group leaders, we thought it was going to be kind of similar. It's not. It's actually much more sad and heavy. And I think that, especially with the first house, we really truly made them our family and integrated them into our lives. And so we broke a few rules, but I would have them over. We did Thanksgiving together. I cooked a terrible meal, and one of the kids
who were
loved it.
A couple kids who were black kids, and they wanted to say, "Hey, Sarah, can you make mac and cheese?" When she makes Kraft mac and cheese, that's not the mac and cheese that they wanted. But they were so gracious. And
I put it in a crock pot. All the noodles floated to the top.
it
nasty. Was horrendous.
But your cooking has improved.
Mashed potatoes. Oh, yeah. It's so much better. Regardless, it was a wonderful experience. And I think even our 5 kids at home, it was the first time that they just started adapting to like, oh, this is our work, but it's also not. This is serving. This is a ministry.
Yeah, I remember probably 2 highlights for me is one, we had one kid in our home who was like a sophomore, wanted to play football. And we would get him there to the high school football practice. And he had his first game, and the whole group home gets there. Sarah and I are there with all of our kids, and we're just cheering him on. He may have been on the sidelines most of the game, but the moment he got to be the kicker and kick the ball, he had the loudest cheering section. And he had so much pride and hugged us afterwards, and did great that season. And letting kids be normal kids was probably the joy of our lives. Or taking the kids to California. We hosted our first vacation. We didn't have any money. We weren't getting paid at all. But we said, hey, these kids need a vacation. Every family needs a family vacation. So let's figure out a way. So we went to Campland, which is this awesome campground.
RV / campground.
Yeah, it has a bay. It has a jetty. Jetty.
I think it's a Yeti.
I think it's jetty.
Okay.
It's Jetty. Jetty that you walk out and you go fishing off of. It has
a pool and a spa. They have barbecue spots.
It is it's going back to the 1950s.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And we rented out 2 campsites. We all got a bunch of tents, and we camped out, went to SeaWorld and saw Shamu, and when he's in that tank, he just smiles right at you. The
so
smile on his
face
there was just priceless. The fin curled over means he's
my
happy.
gosh, it's so sad.
To this day, I'm like, oh, kids, he's smiling. I'm like, I think he's depressed. He's not moving. No, kids. He likes that. That means he's waving at you.
Okay. But I would say one of the things that saved us, I think, in starting our business was that we found a company that was like 20 years ahead of us.
Yes.
We found a company, they had been in the group home world maybe like 15 to 20 years. I don't know. Much older. And
how we got a hold of them is I started cold calling agencies. I found a piece of paper and I said, can I subcontract with you? Because we had a home, I was paying the bills, we didn't have a license, we had a license but no contract with the state, and the only way to get in the game was to subcontract. And so no, and then this one guy said, fine, I'll meet with you. So we got dressed up, ran over
and
across town.
And they interviewed us because they didn't know if they would want to work with us or not.
A psychologist and Biggie Smalls? How could you say no?
But so I would say we paid them monthly for a year to mentor us. And that I would say was probably one of the biggest investments we could have made starting, because not only did they teach us how to like cut throat, do all the things that the state expects, but they walked us through hard things, and we can still call each other today and answer questions for each other.
Yeah. I'd probably say that is probably one of the biggest things that made it successful.
I agree.
Was that one, they taught you how to do compliance. So we were like dialed in with compliance. They hooked
us up with companies that helped with bills and other various
helped
things.
Us learn how to
receipts.
Do payroll. I mean, we had our first 8 employees. Like, what do you even do? So we found a company that would help do a lot of the HR processes for us, so our employees could get benefits, but also do the taxes and things like that. Because you cannot screw up taxes. You cannot screw up. And payroll. Then the finances, they were so helpful and rigorous of like how to make sure that our business accounts stayed business, that our personal accounts stayed personal, and there was never ever commingling of funds. That when you'd write a check to yourself and make sure there was a journal entry, and things were so crystal clear and above reproach. So because every year we get audited, and if we want to have a long-term legacy business, you got to make sure those things are right. And to this day, I have their voices in my head of like, hey, even now we have, I don't know, 10 business accounts or more, and it gets complicated, but we never like commingle funds or lend to each other because it has to be so like keep the veil where it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think thank God you happen to call them, but finding someone that has such high integrity and then learning from that and then knowing that we want to follow. We brought in the faith aspect, and that was different for them.
Yeah, it was.
We were
I said, "We're gonna pray."
unapologetic.
Yeah.
Unapologetic about our faith.
They're
And
like-
it throws people off.
Yeah.
But you know what? Oh, that's okay. And so I think there are some things they learned from us as well.
Yeah.
And are trusting that the Lord will provide or come through with certain things. And he has shown up in lots of ways over the years. It's been a testament to.
Absolutely. And what I loved is thinking back, like we paid them every month, and sometimes you have to pay to play. So for me in business, it's worth paying to help expedite your learning curve.
Absolutely.
Because we could have just figured it out and been clunky, and it would have taken us 2 years. But being able to make that investment and having that mentorship was beyond helpful and helped expedite our growth, that now 2 years later after our first one, we could add our second home, our third home. Now we're at our 40th home, and we're, if not the biggest, one of the biggest providers in the state. And our mentors that mentored us, we actually ended up acquiring their company just a year ago. So we took over their company and all of their team members and employees.
They're in the retirement stage of their life, and Ryan's like, I got years, let's go.
Yeah, I may be balding, but I still got a lot of
not that
energy
old.
left. Yes.
Yeah, you do.
So watching, and I was just talking to him this morning about some other stuff. So it's like a long-term friendship that continues on.
Yeah.
And that was definitely well worth it and helped us be successful.
Yeah.
What'd you think of how did you balance being a mom and a business owner? And do you think we did it well? Like I feel like now, 8 years later, we turn off business in our brain a little bit, or maybe it's just like so integrated into our life. We talk about it, but it's not like, stop talking about the kids, stop talking about the business, stop answering the phone at home.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, especially starting up, we knew like when you're all in and it's all hands on deck. And so I think at the very beginning, we did get a lot of phone calls. We were working a lot more. There were times where I would be at the house with our kiddos so that Ryan could go drive to an emergency or vice versa. And so I think we were really heavily in it in the first few years. And, we adjusted our holidays and did different things so that our kids could do some things, but then we were working.
Because we always wanted every holiday to be like, our kids in our group homes were our extended family.
Yes.
So Christmas Eve was with our Ohana kids and our Ohana family, but we still wanted to keep our own nuclear family and our own family a little bit still sacred the best we could.
Yeah, the best we could. And I think there were parts of it where we knew like our kids have a good life. And so if we miss a thing or two, like at their school or whatever it was, they're going to be okay. Because in the big picture, we're dealing with kids that have had very hard upbringings or don't have parents at all. And so that kind of shifted, but we also were, as time went on, really careful. I stepped out of being in the home because I was driving to many court cases, doctor's appointments. I was like doing the nitty gritty work of being a mom, but also a mom at home. And I think that was really taxing on me.
Yeah.
And very
so that was
draining.
like when we first started, we were just like all in and doing every single detail thing. And we had to we had 8 employees, but they were all just as green as we were. And it was like, we're all together. But as time went on and us getting mentored, we knew, okay, we have to pull ourselves out and work on the business, help give oversight, help support, be the mom and dad, but have a manager that we can communicate with, that person is in charge of that house.
And that person maybe doesn't have kids or isn't married and can do the 11 o'clock at night phone calls.
Like for me, after I had to go do another overnight, that means from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., I'm awake checking on these kids because that's what the contract requires. Then go to teach a class at the college afterwards, trying to wash my face and get to teach. That was very challenging. And after doing a number of those, I was like, all right, we got to figure this out for our own sanity and for my own kids.
I did an overnight once or twice too.
Know, it's
and then in the morning I would drive over and take the kids to school and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal.
And we're like, no more of this.
Yeah.
So you do what you got to do. You got to grind and you got to make it happen. But the sooner you can invest in your staff. And I remember those Friday nights just praying that overnight staff would not call us.
Please.
That's the difference with this business. It's like this business is 24/7.
Yeah.
You have a million, like you have 24/7 staff coverage.
365 days.
Yeah.
There's
it's
no
never
stopping.
Off. So you have to always have that person on. And we didn't have live-in staff. They work shifts.
Yeah.
So 8 to 10 hour shifts and to make it happen. And we had a lot of young people who are highly passionate, but they also got sick a lot on Friday nights. What? Go figure. I mean, why does the stomach bug always come on Friday nights? I don't know. It just is a sneak. It sneaks up on you.
Sneaks up on you.
It just kills me.
But I would say though that there were times I did not like working with you.
Oh.
Especially in the first probably 4 to 5 years. Well, that sounds like a long time, but I would say one of my most favorite things is that we were a partnership. We were on mission together. We're like very much have the same values and like plan and expectancy for Ohana. However, I felt like an employee and there were times where you would ask me to do something or this or that. And depending on how you spoke the words to me, it felt like I was an employee versus your partner or your co-founder. And I still have issues today that come up because now I'm pretty far removed. But I'm also like, I don't want to be forgotten. However, there were some times where it was pretty rough with you because we had to find that balance of like, when are we talking as coworkers and when are we talking as husband and wife or as parents?
Do you remember any times when that got really intense?
Oh, I mean, there was I cried so much.
She cried all the tears out of her.
I've cried all the tears out of me. I was like a dead stone for a very long time. I'm not even kidding. It's a heart of stone.
Then I became stone for a while.
I know. We've taken our turns being a heart of stone, which is sad, but it's true. You kind of have to be stone with some of these stories.
Yeah.
So
heavy stories and then heavy lives. And I guess as I probably got more confident and confident in the business and I saw what the potential that we had.
Yeah.
And I probably did see you. We were a partnership, but I thought I knew the best. And it probably wasn't good.
I think you still think that about a lot of things.
Well, I do.
I know best. I know the answers. I know best.
I'm confident of the game plan and of the blueprint that we're creating.
Yeah. And also I don't have much to use against you anymore because at the beginning of it, I was doing so much of the dirty work, like behind the scenes.
Remember the bed bugs?
Oh, don't even remind me. Like I'm like the person moving furniture.
10 beds and one kid brought in bed bugs. And it was nasty.
Oh gosh, I forgot about.
And we had to like,
bugs.
and you ever seen a bed bug walking around? I have. It makes you feel nasty.
I have goosebumps right now.
You had to vacuum it up, and then we had to get all of everything out and try to heat up the whole place, or the lice outbreak.
Oh gosh.
That freaks you out. That freaks you out.
My head's itchy. Oh, it's so much. I can't even. I have never.
I mean, I'll take a broken window or like having to restrain a kid because
over
he's
bed bugs any day.
over like I've had to restrain hundreds of kids because they're emotionally like dysregulated.
Yeah,
They're
they
really
can't
having a hard
regulate.
time. They're in trauma. But the bed bugs and the lice, or having another Polar Pop in that damn van that they don't pick up.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, pick up your crap, kids. Yeah, or the staff not caring. You go and do an inspection and the staff haven't done what they're supposed to.
Or they're on their phone.
Oh, that bothers me too. Or I look at the cameras and they're trying to take a nap. I'm like, at night, I go, I call them up at 2 a.m. Wake up and go mop. We had the best overnight staff. She was the lady in our neighborhood that I met. We were doing ministry, and our church and nonprofit built a wall around their backyard for them because dogs were getting in. It was in a low-income area. And she mopped and cleaned like nobody's business.
She was Mama Bear.
She was a mom. She did it, and she cooked good food.
Good food.
Yes.
Yes.
So, do you still feel like an employee?
No,
Not
because
now.
I quit every now and then. Every
She has
few
quit.
years, I retire.
Yeah, she's quit Ohana 3 times or retire.
I retire.
But now the website, you still are on the website.
But I would say I always step back in when there is a need.
Absolutely.
I'm at every event.
When we started to scale, because you were raising kids, we had a really busy life.
Yeah.
And we went from, you were pretty involved till we had about 5 homes, right? 5 to 7 homes. Once we got to like 50 employees.
Yeah, because I helped start the DDD home.
Yeah.
And I actually really loved the DDD side.
Yeah. Those are adults and kids with special needs, with developmental disabilities. The state actually asked us to, because we had this expertise working with kids with special needs, and they said, we need homes where they're not, like, they're smaller, that they're more family-like.
They're not with 10 boys that are going to beat them up and be bullies because they...
So that was a whole new separate business, separate contracts, a whole different government agency, all different rules. And that took about a year and a half.
Went to go learn. Into. Yeah.
Yeah. A new line of business, a new line of ministry. And we got into that about 2 to 2.5 years later.
We found someone to help mentor us. We got the paperwork together. They
drafted all that paperwork for us.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, as like before we do our own thing, I want to imitate. I want to get information from somebody.
Yeah.
Imitate it, and then
there's no reason, if it's already existing everywhere, there's no reason to recreate the wheel. So what we do is we find someone to learn from, but then we add our Ohana flair into it, I would say.
And then I think now, as being a much more mature organization, that we've almost innovated and created our own.
Yeah.
And then watching years later, someone says, "Hey, I saw your website online," and I went and looked it up, and it's literally all of our information, our logo, just a different name.
Yeah.
Every single thing we've written out, all our policies and procedures. Someone ripped our stuff and now is just imitating us.
Yep.
And that's probably happened like 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah.
I guess what is that? Plagiarism is the best form of flattery or something?
Yeah. Or copying,
imitation.
Plagiarism. Okay, Professor Senters. Plagiarism.
Don't you dare plagiarize. I can spot ChatGPT anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Imitation is the best form of flattery. So when these businesses imitate us, it's very it rubs me the wrong way at first, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing my thing.
But also that taught us to like
coin our stuff.
Yeah, totally.
I know.
It's ours.
And then now people want to consult with us in regards to that. And we're like, all right, well, you're gonna have to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm not this information ain't free anymore.
My time for coffee chats, I used to do a lot of coffee meetups with people that just wanted to learn.
No, I don't got time for that.
And I'm like, at this point, we had 6 kids.
Mm-hmm.
We were both working full time, you overtime because you're always doing 2 or 3 jobs. And I can't do any more coffee breaks. And so if you want to bring your kids and come to my house and be at my house and pick my brain at my home while I'm doing the stuff I need to do, that's fine. I wouldn't do that anymore, but I used to.
Yeah, I would in a different way.
Yeah.
Through coaching and things like that. But
yeah,
now kind of looking towards the future, we have now we have 9 kids in our home.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
But we have Ohana now has 550 employees. We had a chance this last year. We had a big, huge staff meeting yesterday and got to celebrate with all of our staff that we served like 450 foster youth last year, 50 special needs adults. In December, we gave away $250,000 of just bonuses to our staff, which was a big honor that we've never been able to do. It's like we had a little bit of profit, and we're like, okay, what's the best way? Well, our people is the best way to do it. So we ended up doing that, and it came back to us. Like, these people were really, really grateful. I felt like it.
And I would say that over time, because it used to be us in the thick of it doing a lot of the work, but really as time has gone on, people have taken ownership of their own group home that they're running.
Mm-hmm.
They create the Ohana within it.
Yeah.
It's like this one big Ohana, but each home reflects how we would want it to be run. And there wouldn't be 40 homes if we didn't have excellent staff, passionate staff doing the work that they're doing. Because we can't be in the thick of that anymore. We can't be in the homes. But to see the managers, to see the work that they do, to see the way they love on the kids and the family.
Watching like they're at graduations and they're creating these meals.
Yeah.
And what is a big honor is like now the culture, I feel like, and our job now is to steward the culture of Ohana, is to make sure that they understand the values and what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these pillars of creating family and let kids be kids, let them have normal lives, and let them create a sense of hope for their love.
Yeah.
Like, if they're not, we're like laser focused on that. Are they doing that really well? And then we'll reinforce it like crazy.
Yeah.
But if a staff is violating that, then that's where we need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And our job now is to really be that for our team.
Yeah.
And help drive the vision, because we have a great team now, and we're like, I don't even necessarily tell you all the vision in my head.
No, I don't even know where Ohana is gonna go. Like, I know it's grown, and I know that 2023, there's just been so many lives that we've impacted as a company.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sky's the limit for you. And I just feel like I go on the ride.
Yeah. Now we're looking at kind of diversifying our continuum of care. So we're helping with not just providing housing, but our support services. So we have multiple other contracts that we've gotten with the state, and also counseling services, because what we believe is that if you can serve one kid in a deeper way, is help them create the Ohana love through their counseling services, through when they age out of foster care, that they can have case management and have housing for them. That's a huge win.
Yeah.
So for us, we want to be able to touch multiple lives, and every single different vehicle is a different revenue stream for us, and helps be able to create more margin for us to be able to expand. So I'm sure we'll be in multiple states in a couple of years here.
Okay.
And statewide. Well, we're already statewide, but multiple states. We'll see what else the Lord has. She's not even ready to hear that. All right. Well, thank you, babe, for coming on the show.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm so
Thank
happy
you
to be
for
here.
coming out of our
bedroom.
Yeah. Until next week, I'm sure she'll be a guest again.
Oh yes.
Yes. But until next week, may you unleash your purpose to profit in business, faith, and life.
Thanks for joining us for the Unleash Your Purpose podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.